This is the Certainly Grognards for June 22nd, 2015. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I am doing all right.
Most excellent, most excellent. So, we are continuing on the trend of covering genre topics that are among Eric's favorites this week. We've covered some of my favorites previously, and now we're talking about some of Eric's. This week we're covering post-apocalyptic games and movies and comic books and so on and so forth. Eric, unlike last week, I think most people understand what I don't think we need to sort of define what post-apocalyptic is.
No, I don't think we really need to define that. I think it's pretty clear in the. I think it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's sort of what. If you don't know what it is, Google.
Well, there's this thing that called the apocalypse, and it happens after that.
Right. I am actually, I think, unlike last week, where I actually am, I'm not as much of a fan. Like last week, we talked about Cyberpunk, and Eric's a much bigger Cyberpunk fan than I am, but I still like Cyberpunk as a genre. Post-apocalyptic is a genre that I don't hate, but I never think of it as one of those genres I'm actually particularly interested in playing at any given time, or watching or anything like that. Whereas I know, Eric, you're a big fan of it.
I'm a big fan of it. I think this boils down to the whole hope thing, which is much more important for you than it is for me.
It is.
One of the things that I love about the post-apocalyptic thing, though, is actually the sort of junker mentality where you're scrapping things together out of leftovers to get something functional. I love that aesthetic.
Sure.
I would do everything in that aesthetic if I thought it was at all viable. And wouldn't result in, tetanus or prison time. Or
yeah, I totally get that. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that can be done in that genre of, the concept of the whole idea of rebuilding, I find actually interesting. But yes. It's not done as often as I would have expected, to be totally honest. It's done, but
it's done. I mean, the big granddaddy of the don't think it's the first, but certainly the most visible example is the Mad Max movies.
Right. And that's really that's not really about rebuilding. That's more about surviving.
But there are examples of rebuilding in them.
Yes.
You've got Bartertown, which is an attempt to rebuild in Thunderdome. You have the gas settlement in the Road Warrior.
I wouldn't really call that rebuilding. I'd call that actually just trying to sort of survive, really.
Well, and you've got Lord Humongous and his Berserker team running around. Yeah, that's kind of surviving. But I don't know. There's something about surviving the worst that the universe can throw at you.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And then scraping by afterwards. That's something I find really cool and appealing.
Oh, do not get me wrong. I do think it's cool. I'm just saying that I just find it interesting that you see so few examples of attempting to rebuild from there. And having the attempted rebuilding things being presented as anything but something going horribly wrong with them. Like Bartertown is not a good example. It's not an example of something you want to see when people are rebuilding. Yeah,
certainly, because Bartertown's run by evil Tina Turner.
Right. You see where I'm going with this, right?
Yes.
So the various things where they're trying to rebuild in Waterworld,
I forgot about
mind you, Waterworld's a terrible, terrible movie for many different reasons.
So many problems with Waterworld. Yeah, Waterworld's not good.
But it's interesting.
It is post-apocalyptic.
Sure.
It's just very different from your typical post-apocalyptic world.
But yeah, like you look at the like almost in the vast majority of times I'm thinking of it, like almost every time where you see like like somebody like actually rebuilding and trying to like you know rebuild civilization. It's rarely presented in a way where it's what the people who are doing it are doing a good thing.
Um,
Which I think is interesting. I think that's interesting, but I think it's also interesting that there is rarely ever like people like the protagonists are trying to do anything other than like they and those that they care about survive.
sure, but it's also very much a genre of anti-heroes.
Right, and I think it as a
And
general rule
you
of
do
thumb.
have heroes in there, but they're rarely the main protagonist.
Right. I don't have a problem with that as a general rule. I just think it's interesting that you rarely see anything else though.
I'm gonna the Book of Eli, which I like despite its many flaws.
Okay. Not seen it, so I can't comment on that one.
But the whole point of it is the titular character Eli, um, played by I actually don't remember who. It's been a while. Anyway, he's basically a librarian. He goes around collecting books, and the big central conflict revolves around someone trying to steal his book because they believe it holds the secret to rebuilding society. Now, I remember it was Gary Oldman who was the bad guy because I always remember Gary Oldman.
Uh-huh.
But his idea is to steal the secret of this book, which he believes holds the secret to rebuilding society, so that he can be in charge. He's a bad man.
Right.
He's the bad guy. But yeah, and was it? Why do I want to say it was Denzel Washington? No, it wasn't.
I think it was.
Was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'll say it was Denzel Washington, and someone will prove me wrong later on. Anyway, Denzel's just bringing books back to his little citadel, which turns out to be sort of akin to cloistered monks, who's just they're recording all the information again, like medieval monks did, to keep that information alive. That's the whole point.
Right.
And it's not revealed to the end of the movie. Spoilers. I probably should have said that. But yeah, that's the whole point. He's trying to get the books back to his monastery for all intents and purposes.
Right. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I like the idea that books are become these rare and vitally important things that everyone wants.
Yeah. Although, again, the only person who seems to be actively trying to rebuild civilization is the bad guy.
Not necessarily, because Gary Oldman's trying to rebuild society, but a perverted barter town society.
Right.
While Denzel's trying to preserve what was the knowledge of the previous of the pre-war
Yes.
world, so that they can rebuild from there. But first, they have to preserve the fucking knowledge.
Sure,
that's the
but
first
that's
step
not-
on their road.
But again, the person who's presented as currently actively trying to rebuild is the bad guy, and that seems to generally be the case in most post-apocalyptic stories. And I always found that interesting. And it's sort of it's a really nihilistic view.
Well, it's a nihilistic genre.
It is. I agree completely. That's, I think part of the reason it doesn't appeal to me as much as it does to you.
Yeah, you're much less. You have a much lower tolerance for nihilism than I do.
Well, that's because I get my nihilism out dealing with the regular world. Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
I don't need my fiction to be as dark and bleak as I think the real world actually is.
Okay, fair enough.
That's sort
I
of my
can't argue that point.
that's always been my sort of big thing with it. But yeah. I don't get me wrong. I do like. There's a lot of post-apocalypse stuff I really do like. Like the Road Warrior. That's the second. Yeah, the Road Warrior. Second.
Yeah, the Road Warrior is the second
I'm a
one.
huge fan of that movie. Great movie.
It's a great movie. I love
brilliant
that
movie.
movie to death.
Mad Max. The first one isn't technically post-apocalyptic since it's pre-war. But,
Yeah, it's pre-war. It's when everything's starting to fall to shit, but the bombs haven't fallen yet.
Right. But it's a good movie. That's also a very good movie.
It's a good movie. It's a movie that could only ever be made in the 70s.
Yes. And
Like,
both.
like only the 70s are that jaded and angry and cynical to allow Mad Max to get made.
I don't know. I honestly could almost see it being made. Aside from the pacing, I could see it being made today.
I don't know. I don't think you can get away with Max being as ruthless. Like
Maybe. I don't know.
Max's whole character arc there is he goes from being a good guy to a ruthless dog fucker.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean,
I can't see. I can see them making that movie, but Max has to die at the end, or suffer some form of what's the word I'm looking for? Some form of penance for the actions he takes.
I don't know. Part of me thinks you're partially right, but part of me also thinks, again, this is my cynicism shining through, that honestly, I think a lot of people would look at it as gritty and real and awesome because of that. Looking at you, Nolan's Dark Knight, Nolan's Batman movies. I mean,
Yeah.
or God
Those
help
are
me,
great
Eric,
great movies,
Superman, Man
but-
of Steel was popular.
We'll not discuss that.
Uh-huh.
We will ignore information that proves your point because it derides my point, and therefore I'm a Fox News pundit, so that's what we're going to do.
Also, it'll depress you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think those are. I do prefer Mad Max. I do prefer the Road Warriors movie, though.
Yeah.
I think it's
I cannot recommend whatchamacallit enough. The most recent one.
Fury Road?
Fury Road.
I've
Fury
heard,
Road's friggin' amazing.
I've heard nothing but good about it. I will watch it at some point. That's not true. I've heard negative reviews, but they're all from people who I want to laugh at. So, like literally every negative review I've heard of Fury Road, I've looked at it and said, "Wow, the fact that you don't like it makes me want to see it."
I'm guessing these are people largely deriding the feminist overtones of it.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Eric. We're not going to go there because we don't need to.
Gotcha.
It's just not needed. I know it looks like it's going to be looks like it'll be a huge hoot. I'll watch it at some point.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of it outside of like the Fallout games, where you have several groups that are trying to rebuild society.
Yeah, and some of them are. Fallout's one of the examples, like especially when you do get to New Vegas,
Yes.
where the CNR is like at least neutral.
Yeah, they're all right.
They're like a normal government.
Yeah.
They're
Then
flawed.
you have Caesar's Legion, which is mustache twirling cartoon villains.
Oh my god. Yeah, and then there's the Enclave.
Yeah. But you also have the Brotherhood of Steel, who are actively like friggin' power armored knights.
Yeah, they've got their own flaws, but they're fun. I like them. But there's a reason I love Fallout. I love Fallout, is because there are people trying their damnedest to like rebuild something and are not presented as the bad guys.
Yes. Well, another thing
And
about
there are
Fallout
people
is
who
it usually takes place a couple hundred years after the war.
Right.
I think everyone's outgrown the depression that such a thing happens in Fallout.
Yeah, I really do like that. Another great example of a story that actually is effectively post-apocalyptic, though it's a different type of post-apocalypse, are Asimov's Foundation books.
Yes.
And it's another great example of people trying to rebuild. Although there's some weird shit that goes on.
Yeah,
Looking
just a wee bit.
Looking at you, Second Foundation, and what the fuck? Like, the books, I really love the Foundation stuff up until the Second Foundation gets revealed. You're like, I mean, I still like them, they're still good, but you're like, what?
Yeah, like, and that's a series of books that thoroughly influence a lot of darker science fiction.
Yeah.
Like the friggin' like 40K is fucking Foundation all over.
Yeah, except that Foundation has an actual ongoing message of hope, which is utterly missing from 40K.
Oh yeah.
The whole point of Foundation is things are going to be okay eventually.
Everything will be all right. Don't sweat it.
It's
And
going to take
would
effort.
be okay if people would just like fucking stop sucking off a corpse on a chair back on Earth. But
yeah,
hey, whatever.
yeah. The problem in 40K is that everybody's the bad guy. The least evil people, the least evil beings in 40K are the fucking Tyranids.
I don't know.
Because they're not sentient.
There's some debate about that.
Sorry, they may be sentient, but they are.
It's a single sapience.
It's a single sapience that honestly it's so alien that you really can't. All they care. It's one of the few things. They're one of the few entities that all they care about is your fucking meat.
Yes.
Anything else, they don't give a fucking. They don't care. Unlike the Emperor or the Chaos Gods, or the Dark Eldar, or the
Craftworld Eldar, who are the biggest assholes.
Or the Satan, or
Yeah. Well, the Tau aren't horribly evil.
No, but they're fucked, and they're a little bit evil.
They're dangerously naive,
and they're horribly fucked.
Yes.
But yeah, actually, that's the thing. 40K is weirdly also post-apocalyptic in its own sort of weird way.
It's very much a universe it takes place after this giant golden age. A couple golden ages, actually.
Everything's completely fallen apart.
Yeah. Like, the previous, like, high mucky mucks are space vagabond gypsies living on their giant world ships, just trying to get by. Or in the case of one faction of them, lunatics who spend all their time torturing things to forget about how fucked they are in a pocket of null space.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got the pre-40K history, you have this like big like golden age of exploration for mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Then all sorts of terrible shit happens. It's implied it's an AI revolution, but they don't actually come out and say it. That knocks mankind back into a dark age.
Right.
Then the Emperor shows up. He makes his like super genetically engineered, power armored ninja clone monks, and sends them off to reconquer the galaxy, which they do. And then a whole bunch of them just start worshipping extra-dimensional emotional vampires for all intents and purposes.
Yep.
They're more like great old ones. They're gods. And, that causes a big civil war, and the Emperor, he's killed. They stick him in a big stasis pod, which they feed thousands of people to him every day, which keeps him just alive enough for them to say that he's still alive. He's not.
Yes.
He's quite dead.
Oh, he's the fifth Chaos God.
Yeah. At this point, yes, he is. Because the way the warp works is it makes your beliefs real. And he's got the entirety of the human race, trillions out there, all focusing all their faith on him. So yeah, he's the fifth Chaos God. You could unplug him and it would be okay.
At this point, probably. Though he still probably need to consume all the people that he does, all the psychers he does.
You know
I'm
what?
not sure he might not need to, but he would.
Yeah, because he's a Chaos God.
Uh-huh. He might be the worst of the bunch, except for maybe... Well, actually not the worst of the bunch. That's still probably... Khorne.
The Chaos Gods are all pretty horrible, because they're all aspects of, like... Yeah, the Chaos Gods are all horrible. They're all extremes they're all extremes of human nature taking to the most twisted and horrible conclusion. They are all bad.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no question. I'm not saying that none of them are not bad. They're all awful. I'm just saying, I'm trying to think which one would be the worst, and it's debatable.
It really is. It's really which one annoys you most that day. He's the worst.
Yeah, probably. I'll go with Khorne just because I can't stand I can't stand most people who play Khorne armies, who are like big into Khorne. It's like, oh, fuck you.
Khorne's the most boring of them because he's an evil war god. It's not
like,
this. he's a really interesting evil war god, but he's still just an evil war god.
Right, and most of the people I've seen who are big into Korn are not into the interesting parts of him.
Yeah, they're
It's like,
interested in the blarg, blood, burg,
It's like,
gurg,
oh my god.
blurg, gurg, gurg.
And the other three Chaos Gods, Slanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch are all more interesting.
Vastly more interesting,
I
honestly.
mean, Tzeentch is the archetypical, oh my god, what a complete bastard.
Yeah, he's the apotheosis of the magnificent bastard.
He really is. Oh my god, what an asshole. I love Tzeentch as a Chaos God, but oh my god, what an asshole.
My original favorite used to be Slanesh because it was like the idea of taking how do I put this? Slanesh is the god of pleasure.
Yeah,
for all
head doesn't
intents
run
and
wild.
purposes. But to put it as simply as possible,
Yes.
but the idea of being so obsessed with aesthetics and beauty and all these other things and love for all intents and purposes and twisting it in such a horrific way really fascinated me. But in my old age, I've grown to love Nurgle because
Nurgle's amusing.
sort of gleeful nihilism really just I find hilarious.
Oh, Nurgle is hilarious.
And he's intentionally hilarious.
Yes.
Nurgle is hilarious in the same way like the human centipede is hilarious.
I
Really
wouldn't go that
horribly so.
Well, the really funny thing about Nurgle, I like you read all the descriptions about Nurgle, and there are all these things where you realize that Nurgle and all his followers are cheerful.
Yes. Like I said, it's gleeful nihilism.
Yeah.
We're all fucked anyway. Everything's rotting away to shit. Let's have fun.
Like they're like read sort of little bits of fluff about they run. You see a great unclean one, and you realize that he in the presence of a Slaneshi army, and you realize he's humming along to the music being played by the Slaneshi noise marines.
Yes.
And it's like, wait, what? This giant demon of putrescence and filth is humming along cheerfully to the heavy metal riffs that that these noise marines are playing.
Because they're awesome.
Because honestly, Nurgle's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Nurgle's my second favorite of the Chaos Gods, definitively. And Slanesh, I like Slanesh, and Korn's all right. I'm just tired of him.
Yeah, like I said, Korn's a really interesting evil war god, but he's still just an evil war god. There's not a lot of ground to be broken there. But yeah, the 40K universe definitely counts as post-apocalyptic because it just happens to be in space with interstellar travel.
Yeah.
I mean, they load their torpedoes on their spaceships with slave labor.
Yeah.
I mean that and that's one of the things I like about the 40K universe. It's this incredibly this bizarre mix of medieval dumbassery
Yeah.
and high tech.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, which I find really interesting. I just wish the game was good.
Yeah. It's a fine universe for a war game. I remain unconvinced of it as a role-playing game universe, but that's just me.
I think there's a lot to be mined there, but you have to have a certain... You have to take it like Nurgle would.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should touch on some other post-apocalyptic stuff. I mean, there's some other great examples.
Yeah. Great movie. Only watch it if you want to be depressed, but A Boy and His Dog.
Have not seen that one.
You'll hate it.
Probably.
You'll probably really appreciate the movie, but hate it. It'll be like your Bob Dylan.
Oh, there are plenty of movies I've been able to watch once and said, wow, that was amazing. I never, ever, ever want to watch that again.
Looking at you, Requiem for a Dream.
I have no idea what you're talking about!
That's one we agree on.
Oh my god. That movie's amazing, but oh my god, I can never watch it again.
Beautiful, gloriously depressing movie that makes you want to claw your eyes out and die.
Leaving Las Vegas is another.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Grave of Fireflies.
Yes. Oh my god. Those are three great movies that are just like, I can't watch it a second time. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
Uh, but yeah, back to the subject at hand. And yeah, I've actually been playing New Vegas,
Yeah,
Fallout New Vegas.
I've been playing Fallout 3, so
Yeah. So let's talk about Fallout.
and Fallout 4 was very recently announced this just past
Yes.
E3. So
I am remarkably excited about this. I didn't think I would be, but the more I learn about what they're doing with it, the more interested I am.
I'm looking forward to it. I expect that it will be bug-tastic because it is Bethesda.
Yes.
And that some of the glitches will drive me mad, and some of them I will think are the most hilarious things in the universe. Because that is how Bethesda works.
Yes.
For every sort of game-breaking bug that ruins Skyrim for people at the start, there are the backwards flying dragons,
Yes. I was actually thinking of that.
or the giants smacking you and sending you into orbit.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. That was great.
These are hilarious. Yeah, they screw that your play up for that moment, but the backwards flying dragons actually made the game unplayable for a while, effectively,
Right.
because they were basically unkillable, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you couldn't actually hurt the dragons.
But it was hilarious.
Which is why I'll wait a month before I get it.
I know I'll be very, very, very tempted to pre-order it.
I am, if only because I want the Pip-Boy.
I don't even want the Pip-Boy. I just want to get it. I want Fallout 4. Is long story
Yes.
short. It doesn't.
I want to burn. I want to destroy Fenway Park. I want to burn Lansdowne Street to the ground.
For those
I
who
want to waltz while wearing powered armor through Boston Commons. Come to think of it, if I could get some powered armor, I could do that now.
You can't get powered armor, Eric. You're not allowed to have power armor. You wouldn't use you would abuse your power armor, Eric. You know that.
I totally would.
Which is why we can't let you have
But
it,
Boston Dynamics is based here. They are working on powered armor for the military.
and they won't let you have it, Eric.
That's why we need to put together a Shadowrun team.
Good luck with that, Eric. And the people who might be interested in doing a Shadowrun team, none of them would let you actually have the power armor.
Well, they're all jerks.
Because they know you too well, Eric. But yeah, specifically, the other reason, in addition to the fact that we both love Fallout, we both love the Fallout universes in general. I can't think of a Fallout game I've not liked.
Yeah, same here.
And I have now, while I've not finished 3 or New Vegas, I've played both of them enough to know that I like both of them. And I have played and beaten Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics. So, and I've liked all of them.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Fallout game. My first goal is always to find the Brotherhood of Steel on Cliff, because there's always one, and get powered armor as quickly as possible. That's what I want.
Right.
I want power armor. Because
Eric,
I love the look of Fallout power armor.
fair enough. Also, it's power armor, Eric. If it wasn't Fallout power armor, you'd like to look at you'd want it.
That's true. Yeah, and let's face facts. I'm a sucker for power armor.
Eric, yes, you are.
So we're in a Star Wars game. You're playing a Wookiee. I want powered armor. That doesn't make any sense. I still want it. Okay.
Hey, that probably would not have happened in a game I was running.
Yeah, it totally happened in Chris's game.
I know.
There was a Wookiee in powered armor. It was me.
Yeah, mostly because power armor is not really a big thing in Star Wars.
It's true, but it was in the D20 Star Wars system.
I know.
It did have power armor, which I thought was a little weird, but I wanted it.
But you saw it there, you're like, ooh, there's power armor here, I must have it. And I'm like, well, of course Eric wants it. I wasn't running it, so I didn't care.
Right.
Of course, the fact there's power armor in the D20 Star Wars game is, in my personal opinion, one of the great things that points out that this is not a very good Star Wars game. It's a good game. It's an okay game, but it's not very Star Warsy.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But, yeah, post-apocalyptic, I mean, yeah, Fallout, we adore it, and it's going to be set in Boston, so Eric and I are doubly plus going, woo!
Yay!
This should be amusing. There are some other post-apocalyptic games which we've not talked about yet, though.
Sure. I'm trying to think of some. I'm blanking.
Really?
Of course. Yeah.
Gamma World?
Oh, yeah! Oh, man, Gamma World's so much fun. I mean, it's not a game you can take it even remotely seriously.
No! the original Gamma World is not a good system because it is basically the original D&D,
Yeah.
which was again, it was an early role playing game, so when it came out, it didn't have much else to compare it to. So it was a fun game, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing terrible about it. It's not the right way to put it. I don't know. It's dated. It's really dated at this point.
It's really dated. Yeah.
And there's a certain nostalgia factor to it. The revamped Gamma World, there's a lot about the revamped Gamma World that came out that's based on 4th edition D&D that I really like. The cards are not one of them.
Yeah, I always hated the card aspect of Gamma World because it was there sort of in the other one.
Yeah.
In the original, but it's more of a thing in the revamped one, which yeah.
Yeah, basically the way it worked is that there was like in various situations you'd get basically every encounter you got dealt random mutations. You sort of because of the way Gamma World set up, you would randomly have temporary mutations and such. And so in theory the way it worked is that each player would build their own deck for what mutations they were likely to get. And there was limitations of how many of any given sort of mutation card and Omega Tech card that you could have in your 2 decks. The thing is that they were collectible because
fuck you, Eric.
Because fuck WotC. Now I
fuck you, Eric Carlson. You specifically, you that guy that hates collectible things. I know that was their thought process.
I did think of a way to get around that, but basically there are 2 ways you can handle it. Basically, one was that you basically just you had a common deck that was the cards that the Game Master had, and except the fact that your mutations were going to be completely fucking random.
Right.
Or you did what I thought about doing and never got around to doing, which was to take the deck of cards that the Game Master has when he bought the game, and it came with cards, and then scan them into thing and give all the players the scan sheet so they could make their own decks from the scanned stuff.
I'm sure there's a list online.
Oh, there is.
And yeah, you could do a similar thing. Just find the list, find what each of the cards does, and then like scan them out and make cards that way.
Yep, that would be what I would recommend doing.
Yeah,
it's a goofy, fun game. You cannot take it seriously.
Not even remotely.
But it's a lot of fun, honestly, and it's an interesting take on the post-apocalyptic world. Because it's not just like, there was a nuclear war and it blew everything up. It's like a cross-dimensional, interdimensional catastrophe that causes like a gajillion different, alternate realities to get squished down into one.
Yeah, it's like Rift in that way.
Yeah, kind of, except it's also
not terrible.
Yeah. Also, it's not like they're adjacent to each other. It's all gotten sort of smushed together in weird ways.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Rift's being another post-apocalyptic game.
Yeah, and that one sucks.
Which suffers from being a Palladium game.
Yes, it does, and it sucks.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential to be mined in that world, I think. Because it's basically like sort of a similar thing, giant extra-dimensional wackiness happens, and now you have all these adjacent worlds sort of bleeding into each other.
Right.
And basically opens things up to let you play pretty much anything. Except, it's Palladium, which is a terrible system that I hate.
Yeah. Also, it's not a particularly well-designed... The world itself is not well-designed either.
Yeah, it's not a particularly well-designed world. It could really use a run through FAS's systems.
Right.
Because FASA can't write a game, but they really know how to do world building.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of FASA, you could argue that MechWarrior is or
BattleTech. BattleTech is. Yeah, BattleTech is. It's interesting because BattleTech, the original launch BattleTech, is effectively just coming out of the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
So it is post-apocalyptic, but most of the really bleak stuff has
already happened.
So they're slowly. It's basically they're in the process of actually. They're moving from the Dark Ages into the Renaissance.
Right. And then the clans show up and throw everything in all to hell.
Because... Fuck me, that's why. I'm not the world's biggest fan of the clans. Let's just put it that way.
Neither am I. I think they're an interesting plot device, but they completely unbalance the game is the problem.
They do that. They're also really, really, really stupid.
Yeah, and I think they're an interesting plot device, and yeah, the clans show up, and they have this really ritualized way of doing warfare. So, they're a big threat, but they're not hard to outwit. Once you figure out what's going on, you can outwit them.
Oh, there's so many different problems the clans have.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like their eugenics program, which. So for those of you who don't know the way it works, the clans have this structured society, and their warrior caste, because it's a caste-based
going
society.
a little further back, big war that knocks this big interstellar Star League off its kilter.
Basically, there's a
the military says, "Fuck you! We're not dealing with another succession war. We're leaving." They fuck off to unknown space.
Right. Basically, there was a giant galactic political body that was effectively a feudal system. It was there was a monarchy.
Yeah.
There was a rebellion against the monarchy. The monarch and his entire family were killed, and this led to bickering amongst the other nobles. And the guy who kicked the usurper out of the throne, basically said, "Oh, fuck this noise! I don't want to deal with any of you people. I'm leaving." So he and a bunch of the army left with him. They come back as the clans.
Yeah.
The important bit about the clans is that I want to complain about specifically is their eugenics program, because they have a eugenics program.
Yeah.
And they've built a caste system, and one of the castes, the most important caste, because this is the whole thing is around their plans to return to the inner sphere and refound the Star League, basically. And so they'd be able to do that militarily. So they decide their plan is to create the most genetically perfect warriors. So what they do is they've got a breeding system set up, which it's a eugenics program where they basically, they test out people, and they run these live fire combat tests to see who the top sort of the people who are at certain ages who are the cream of the cream, and they're the ones who can actually effectively breed. Their genetics are passed on to the next generation.
To be fair, it is a meritocracy in that, it's...
I have no problem. That's not what I'm having a problem with. I haven't gotten to the problem. This
an
is
actual meritocracy where everyone starts out the same level.
Right. Each generation starts out in theory, starts out at the same level. It doesn't stay that way entirely. Certain bloodlines are are assumed to be superior because they generally are. But
right.
At any rate, so the cream of the crop get to pass on their genetic code to the next generation. Now,
and it's all done in vitro, in tubes.
Yeah, and again, I'm not complaining about this. This is not the problem. For a eugenics system, this makes logical sense. And basically,
except for the whole bad shit that comes with eugenics in general. But
assuming that eugenics is going to work, this is the way it would work. Now, here's the problem. Now, so they go through generations they basically cycle very quickly, and you're considered to be too old to be an effective warrior by your 30s because the next generation is now coming along nipping your heels, and they're going to be genetically superior to you because they've been bred to be genetically superior to you. Again, this is fine.
Oh, so at 30, you're starting to your reflexes are starting to to go.
And since you're not actively at war, you don't. The advantage to being older is that you earn experience and learn skill and become smart and wiser and learn stuff. But that's not important when you're not actually at war. So the second you actually launch the war, you stop the eugenics program because you stop focusing on the eugenics program because that's the intelligent thing to do, right?
Of course.
The clans don't.
Well, of course not.
Because they're fucking morons!
Have you ever tried to change many generations of tradition? It's really hard, even with the weight of overwhelming evidence presented at your feet. People will just ignore it.
I know, but they're
That's actually perfectly realistic in my opinion.
I don't say it's not realistic. I said it's stupid. And I'm sorry, once you're actually in a shooting war and you keep and it's being shoved down your throat that your lack of experience is kicking your ass.
But it's not for the longest time. They are handing everyone their asses at first.
For the first 5 years at most, when they're going through the soft underbelly of the Inner Sphere and not fighting people who are actually dangerous.
Yeah, what is it? The war, the Decade, which was where they figured out, wait a minute, they have this really ritualized thing, so we can bet what they want for them to stop fighting us.
No, no, that was a different planet. There's another planet where they basically take advantage of the bidding system. Tukid was an Inner Sphere general going, okay, we're going to set up an actual trial. I'm not going to cheat and lie about anything or anything like that, but I'm going to set things up on this planet, and I'm going to set my troops up in positions to fight a long, grinding attrition battle.
Right,
which the clans are incapable of fighting.
Because they've never done it before.
Right.
All their shit's designed for these quick engagements, because their whole way of fighting is to preserve what little material they have.
Right. Well, on top of that...
They don't do wars of attrition.
They don't do wars of attrition for two reasons. One... they don't have a lot of raw materials.
Right, the worlds that they ended up
kind of sucked for the most part.
Yeah, their worlds suck.
But two, it is completely counter to the way they do their eugenics program.
Right.
So, psychologically, they're not good at it either. And then all of a sudden, they get their asses kicked, hardcore. And the smarter clan members go, well, fuck. Okay, we need to rethink things. And the vast majority of the clans are like,
Yarg! Yarg!
Yeah.
Yeah, and the little flavor things that I like in the BattleTech universe, like the fact that the Inner Sphere is the section of space where the old Star League was.
Yep.
Their mechs are designed for long, drawn-out, grinding combats because they're in an actual war where certain things are made illegal via their equivalent of Geneva Conventions, like no orbital bombardments, no nukes, that kind of deal.
Right.
They pretty much limit it to conventional warfare because otherwise they wouldn't have any planets left.
Right. Well, the problem is that for a while those weren't limits, and they said, "Oh fuck, this is terrible."
Yeah, this is terrible. We've made a whole bunch of worlds uninhabitable and lost so much infrastructure. We don't know if we can rebuild it. Let's stop that.
Yeah. So they stopped that. They also they lost the ability to build FTL drives.
Yeah.
Sorry, they for a while they lost the ability to build them at all. They eventually rediscovered how to build them. But they lost the knowledge of how their factories work for a while. I mean,
yes.
It really was the Dark Ages for a while. These factories produce battle mechs, and we don't know how, but we're going to use them because awesome.
But we're going to use them because yeah. So anyway, one of the things about not only are their mechs built for the long haul, but their cockpits are actually rather comfortable, complete with a waste collection system and everything. Clans don't have that shit. Their cockpits are really crowded and tight and tight in there because you want to minimize the amount of space in there for your quick engagements. So it's not going to be in there for more than an hour at a time anyway. And why would you need a waste collection system? You're only in there for an hour.
Right, whereas the Inner Sphere is okay.
I'm going to be stuck in this thing for a week.
Yeah, they're they look at oh, you poor bastard, you're in Mech X that starts getting uncomfortable after a day. That sucks.
Yeah.
That thing's a piece of shit in this cockpit. And the clan is wait, what? What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, you've got this advanced communication system and some state-of-the-art weaponry, but man, after 30 hours in that thing, your legs start cramping up. It's just not worth it.
It's what? 30 hours? How do you fight that long? That's not possible. Yeah,
well, to be fair, Mr. Kleiner, it is a lot of sitting around and waiting.
Well,
like any real conflict. What?
And the interesting thing about the story is that as time goes on, the Inner Sphere basically, the clans come blitzkrieging in, do a lot of damage, and the Inner Sphere sits there and goes, ow, you punched me in the face, that hurt. All right, we're going to bury you under everything we've got because we're most of the galaxy.
We'll choke you with our dead.
Well, they're not even like choking them if they're dead. They're choking them with just like, we're just going to attack you in ways that you're not expecting us to attack. We're going to strike at your ability to fight.
Yeah.
We're going to suck you into extended, protracted engagements where you're going to run out of munitions. It's not so much that oh no, we're losing people, we're losing ammo, we're losing fuel.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh no, your supply lines are cut. What are you gonna do now? You got about 30 seconds of continuous fire before you run dry, buddy. A lot of the clan mechs are built like that. They're built for 30 seconds of continuous fire, and they go and rearm.
Right. Whereas the Intersphere is like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah, the Intersphere's like, okay, I've got 5 minutes of continuous fire on my ammo consuming weapons, but these lasers will keep shooting forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the BattleTech universe, it's a really interesting look at sort of where things come, like. Honestly, for most of the BattleTech universe, like the earlier stuff, it's interesting. It's an interesting look at where they come, where people coming out of the post-apocalypse, really. But
Yes.
there's stuff like the detailed stuff that happened during the bad times, and it's kind of bleak.
Yeah. But I wasn't kidding when I said they lost worlds.
Oh no, they lost worlds.
Like uninhabitable, irradiated shitholes.
Yeah, BattleTech, it's an interesting world. Let's see, other post-apocalyptic games though that we should talk about. I mean, or fiction in general. I mean,
Right.
I mean, there's some good there's some comic books that are post-apocalyptic also. I mean, that we've not touched on. The first one that leaps to mind is Y: The Last Man.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a really good comic. I should finish that at some point.
Yeah.
It's actually a remarkably good comic.
Yes, it is. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the Walking Dead stuff.
Yep, the Walking Dead stuff.
I mean, any zombie movie is basically post-apocalyptic. I mean,
yeah. It's sort of a not necessarily, because the original Night of the Living Dead isn't post-apocalyptic.
it's actually the apocalypse happening during the movie. You're right.
Dawn of the Dead is more like the apocalypse is happening. And that's the one where they fuck off to the abandoned mall.
Right. Day of the Dead is I think that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one that's actually after the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
The old Romero trilogy.
Yes. Let's see. I mean, there are a host of video games that are sort of set in post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah,
worlds.
certainly.
We're forgetting a bunch of them.
Fallout, we're forgetting a whole bunch, but Fallout's the most obvious because Fallout's awesome.
It's also the one on everyone's mind right now. So
Yeah. Because they totally did show a guy in jump-capable powered armor stomping down Lansdowne Street. I think it was Lansdowne Street. I might be wrong.
That's somewhere in Boston. So.
And somewhere in Boston, and I'm going to stomp down it in powered armor because I can. And yeah, I know there's more. I know I've played a bunch. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
There probably was a Gamma World video game at some point.
Almost certainly. There was a time when there's a video game for everything. Yeah, I'm a little out of it right now. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm just trying to think of other ones we're forgetting. Because I know we're forgetting some.
Yeah, I'm completely spacing. I'm. Oh, Half-Life.
Oh, of course. And
Fucking
Portal.
Half-Life.
And Portal.
See, I opened up my Steam library and bang, Half-Life right there.
Half-Life 2 specifically.
Yes.
Half-Life 1 is again the beginning of the apocalypse.
Right.
And Portal 1 is effectively set during the bad stuff, and Portal 2 is post-apocalyptic.
Right.
Oh lordy, is Portal 2 post-apocalyptic.
It's so much fun.
Oh, Portal 2 is a brilliant game.
Yeah.
As is Half-Life 2.
Yeah, Half-Life 2 is one of those games that Half-Life 2 is one of those games I really enjoyed when it first came out, and I'm sort of ambivalent about it now. And I know that makes me a heretic, but
It's a good game still, but I get
yeah,
it.
it's still a good game. It's still a great shooter, but I think part of it is I'm just over shooters for at least for now.
That's entirely reasonable. Honestly, it's one of the few shooters I'd probably go back and play at this point.
Right. Late game XCOM.
Yeah, XCOM's sort of the ongoing apocalypse.
Yeah. You can try.
Dewani in the chat suggests Star Trek because humanity is basically is post-apocalyptic because the Third World War. Star Trek is so far past that point; it's no longer a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer dealing with the aftermath at all. It's
Yeah,
so far
Star
in the
Trek
future.
is the utopia that rose from the ashes.
Right.
At least the Federation is.
Yep.
Although I suppose if you're playing a Ramen in an STO, that's pretty post-apocalyptic. I mean, your whole homeworld did explode.
Yeah. And a lot of things are going horribly wrong for you and your people.
Yeah. A lot of things going horribly wrong for everybody in an STO.
Yeah, but it's pretty bad for the Romulans in general.
Yeah.
Ooh, Master Psychic's got one. There are a bunch of anime too, and Fist of the North Star is a great one to lead
Oh, Fist of the North Star. Gurren Lagann's pretty post-apocalyptic.
It is, absolutely.
It also has mechs, which makes it possibly the most perfect thing ever. I mean, it's got mechs, it's post-apocalyptic, cute girls. What else do you want?
Honestly,
It's got giant spaceships, dude.
it does, but I don't really care. But the spaceships aren't really that important as spaceships. Is the problem.
Right.
But it's not even just that. It's honestly a more sane plot. I enjoy Gurren Lagann, but it makes no goddamn sense. And it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. The sheer earnestness of its absurdity is
Absolutely.
It's what I really love about that
it's
show.
glorious. It is glorious fun, but it is. You can't take the show seriously.
You're not intended to.
You know, actually,
I gotta say I've not seen a show with more fuck yeah moments in it.
it's up there. It's way up there. Actually, thinking about it, Eric, two of our favorites are effectively both post-apocalyptic in their own way.
Okay, which ones are you thinking of?
Macross,
Yeah, a good portion of it is
post-apocalyptic, yeah.
Yeah.
And Yamato. Space Battleship Yamato is
Oh,
definitive.
Space Battleship Yamato is definitely post-apocalyptic.
It is so post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up with Earth being friggin' like radiation bombed into oblivion. Like that's the opening scene. Earth is destroyed.
Actually, it's a great example. It just occurred to me. Earth, they're trying to rebuild, and the people who are trying to rebuild are the good guys.
Yeah, absolutely. In both cases.
Yep. And then there are the idiots who want to go start a new colony of Earth, and that's a great plan until
Until the Gamelons like catch on.
Oh God. There's a ongoing plot in Yamato. This is not I'm not going to go on the full details of it because I don't want to spoil too much if you have not seen it. But there's a group who want to follow a different plan, which is to move humanity to another planet. The problem with this is that the Gamelons are now aware that Earth has a ship that's capable of superlunar travel, and they know where they've been heading in general. So it's like, oh, well, the Gamelons will find they're not there, and they will come and find them and find humanity after they moved and wipe them out because, fuck you.
Yeah.
It's a terrible plan that they aren't remotely thinking their way through.
Amusingly, in Macross is once the Zentradi have been defeated by J-Pop.
Yes. So, Eric, once that Zentradi scout fleet was defeated by J-Pop.
Right. The first thing that the humanity does is go, okay, we need to build more superluminal colony ships and send as many of them out as possible.
Because
We need to spread amongst the stars to preserve the human race. We can't all sit on this rock forever.
I have no idea what they're talking about. Clearly, that's the best plan, and that looking to expand out that a funding a space program is a terrible idea. I don't know what they were thinking. Sorry, I'm bitter about
Fuck
that.
you, Kyle.
I was thinking
Kyle Min-May. Fuck you.
I was thinking, fuck you, U.S. government defunding NASA, effectively.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I'm still bitter about this. I'm very bitter about this.
Jesus Christ, friggin' 20 years later, we're relying on the Russians, who we're not on friendly terms with, for our space flight. How is this a good plan?
It's not. Anyways.
Fuck you, Newt Gingrich. It all started with you.
Probably. At any rate.
No, it really was. Like, during his whole, like, big push for restructuring and eliminating of government waste, the first thing that was on his chopping block was NASA.
Which is fucking idiotic.
Yeah.
At any rate, I'm not going to get on my soapbox any further than that because, yeah, that's not what the show's about.
Tune in later for us ranting angrily at one another, yet somehow also agreeing.
Yeah, but at any rate, post-apocalyptic stuff, we're coming up to the end of the show, so it's time to get into the wrap-up, I think. Eric's more of a fan of it than I am, although there is a bunch of post-apocalyptic fiction and games that I do love.
Yeah, and one of the things I really enjoy about it is just things are as bad as they're going to get. Time to start, like, pulling your shit together. And that's...
Yes, I agree.
And I really enjoy watching that, and I really enjoy that idea for a story. And I really love the aesthetic of the Junker Barbarian.
Sure, I totally get that. I do love it when I'm in the post-apocalypse stuff where you're actually seeing them actually starting to get their shit together, people trying to do that, and trying to move forward.
Right.
I think that's actually fascinating and incredibly compelling. But there's also something really sort of interesting and fascinating about that lone sort of wanderer of the wasteland going around doing that sort of whole man with no name Western thing.
And there's something really compelling about the return of like Huns or Mongols,
Oh, sure.
but on motorcycles and cars that
Absolutely.
have been cobbled together out of leftovers. And like, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like,
it's basically the intersection of, the Mongols and the Wild West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because,
With a diesel truck covered in iron spikes.
Well, sure. Because, Max is effectively the man, he's in many ways the man with no name. I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, he pretty much shows up to and sort of wanders into someone else's story. He helps them out, and then he leaves. That's how it happens from the Road Warrior on.
Yep. But yeah, like, honestly, that's one of those great sort of cross-pollinations, honestly, is post-apocalyptic mixed in with Westerns. I mean, it works brilliantly.
Yeah, it pretty much writes itself, honestly.
Yeah. I mean...
It's one of the things I really like about New Vegas. And normally I hate old country music. But yeah, I keep that New Vegas radio on because it just fits it so perfectly.
Oh, it does. I'm not a huge fan of that style either, but that style of music has a time and a place, and that is it right there.
Absolutely.
Oh my god. Oh god. The one about the Ranger. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, right. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Love that song though. Oh my god. At any rate. That's going to do it for this week, though. We normally save time at the end of each show for viewer questions. Didn't get any this week, so we will spin them forward next week if we get them. If you do have questions you'd like us to answer on the show, please feel free to ask them. We can be emailed at our email address, which is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, surlygrognards@yahoo.com. Or you can post them on our forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. That's mechagm.forumer, Forumer.com. Or you can post them in the comments section on YouTube, if you're listening to this on YouTube. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @mechagm. If you've got show topic suggestions for us, we love getting those because it means we can talk about the things you want to hear about. Also, It means that we have to spend less time sort of going, oh God, what are we going to talk about this week?
Yeah.
Fortunately, we actually had a plan for this week, so...
Sort of.
I remember the plan. Eric didn't.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like 20 minutes ago. Hey, Eric, the show. Oh, yeah, the show's happening. Why don't we do that thing we talked about last week? Yeah, we can do that.
And if you've got feedback for us, ways we can make the show better, things you liked about it, things that need improvements, etc., we love getting that also. Any of those locations will be a great place for that. And if you want to know when the show is going to be recorded, we record the show live on twitch.tv/MechaGM every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. I tweet out when the show is going to go live, so just keep an eye on my Twitter, and you'll know when I tweet out when the show is going to be going up. And I try to upload the show to YouTube as soon as I remember to, usually. I usually upload it the next day. I try to upload it on Tuesdays. I occasionally forget because I'm kind of scatterbrained that way. I'm sorry. I'll try to get it up either late tonight or tomorrow, though. Anywho, that's going to do it for this week. Any last thoughts on post-apocalyptic gaming, Eric?
It is fun, and I enjoy it. I'm totally just not here today, man. I'm sorry.
All right.
I thought I was going to be more together tonight, and I'm just not. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Wish Eric that he feels better, but it sounds like he's coming down with something. Lots of orange juice and whiskey, Eric.
That is the solution.
Till we see you guys next. Be happy, be safe, keep on gaming, and we will see you guys next week. Take care, guys.
Bye.